All right, Clint from the doorway too, hanging out with Christopher and James from The World Without Us. Thank you for doing this. I really do appreciate it. I know you guys are probably super busy with the whole end of the world ending, and you're gonna able to be playing shows and doing stuff again.
That's true.
But why don't you tell me a little bit about the band, how it all came to be, and what you guys do in the band?
So, I'm the lead guitar player, Chris here, and this is rhythm guitar player.
James, hi. Nice to be here.
So, the band formed around a little town in Westchester, Pennsylvania, kind of localized in the heart of town where there's a music store and a couple other like record stores, vape shops, smoke shops, all that kind of stuff. And all of us working in different areas. James and I both worked at the local music store, and that's how we pretty much all met. We all started just hanging out. We liked similar amounts of music, and then we wanted to start a band. The lead vocalist, Mario, he worked at the local head shop, and I used to always, pop on over there, and we would just geek out about bands.
Then you sent me over there.
Yep. Then I would send him over there. You're like, yo, talk about this dude. We're going to start something. Yeah. And it all just started falling into place from there. A tight knit community and a lot of, close friends.
Yeah,
Thanks.
went through a few drummers at first, and now we've kind of settled on our other guys.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool. So I'm going to talk about the two records. So I'm going to go backwards because I started with Body Forth and went to Incarnate. So I'm going to talk about Incarnate first because it's like my newest listen.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
All right. So I kind of want to talk about this because I feel like there's very similar moments between the two records, but there's one or two very big differences between the two records. So I feel like Incarnate itself, which came out in 2019, right? A couple years ago?
Correct.
Like right before the goddamn end of the world?
Yes.
Yes. It feels like it's got a much more kind of dark feeling to it to me, where the new record is more kind of aggressive and has a lot of different tonal qualities. But and this is not in a negative way, so don't take it this way, but it feels much more like a demo tape that was put out versus an actual album that was recorded. So can
I
you
feel the
talk
same way.
to me? Yeah, okay. So can you talk to me a little bit about the first record and kind of how it came to be and how you feel about it still, 4 years later? So
Okay. Yeah, James, why don't you go first?
Well, there were some recording difficulties. If I can talk from my end, if you remember, we had some problems with electricity the day that we went in to do guitars.
Yes.
So all of, at least my guitars, I'm not sure about yours, but my guitars were recorded on a clean sound and then played back through through an amp afterwards. So I probably wouldn't have been my first way to do it, but that's kind of what happened on my end.
Yeah, they were doing crazy construction across the street, so like drilling into the ground. It was
wow.
It was crazy. My feelings, a lot of these riffs were written, before the band was formed.
That's also very true.
So, going through so many different drummers and trying to find our sound, but still playing the same riff. And then every time the song would change depending on who was playing drums on it. So when Steve joined the band, our current drummer right now, he had pretty much a week to learn all of our songs.
It was right before we went into the studio.
Yep. And he hit it on. I think he did a great job. And now where we are now with the knowledge and playing together as a whole, it's totally different than that first record, but darker. I was glad that you picked up on that and, the aggressive side of the new album. It was definitely emotional for all of us, when we were writing all these songs, especially me and the singer coming up with concept ideas, a greater story behind all of the songs. Came from definitely an emotional place.
Cool. Yeah, you can hear it. You can definitely hear the first record versus the second record that way. I am going to use a couple of references in terms for the band as a whole because it's what I hear. Now, it may not be what you hear, but this is the great thing why we can have these kind of conversations because they're now on a music. So I'm going to use the word power prog. And the reason why I'm going to use that is because between both records, we'll talk about the second EP in a minute, but between the two records, there's some cohesive elements of bands that I think people normally wouldn't associate to an extreme metal genre that I hear in your music. Okay. And these are just bands that I love that I feel like you are mixing in a very cool and interesting way. So the first one is Muse. All right, I hear a lot. I hear a ton of Muse going on in there. The other one is Coheed and Cambria. I hear a ton. Yes. I hear a ton of that going on, and you would never really think that a band like that would be something that would go into death metal, because they don't really ever hit those levels, but they do hit metal. And then the other one that I really feel like that people are missing out on is you are like a very mid-period Slipknot kind of vibe at periods in time too. From those, and I'm not politically correct, so I'm gonna curse. You can curse too. It's all good.
Oh, cool! I love it. Fuck
yeah. Yeah. But those fucking grooves that come on, man, are like balls out, like mid-period Slipknot. Like when they realized they were no longer a pissed off hardcore metal band and they could actually be interesting. Like that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
And then of course, and then of course, you know, there's the, you know, between the Buried and Me and Periphery and stuff that I can absolutely hear that if you don't love, I'll be fucking shocked that you don't love. Okay, because
you're naming all of our favorite bands.
You're kind of picking them off here.
Yeah, because you can hear it. But I kind of want to, like, how did you mix? And because it's a really interesting mix, and it's not something like, you shocked me when I first heard the band. So I listened to Body Forth first, but when I first heard it, I hear this kind of power prog singer with this like jazzy kind of tech death, and then all of a sudden there's like groove metal getting thrown in there as well too. How did you kind of mix all these styles together and make it work? Because a lot of bands fail at this.
So me, I consider myself a weird guitar player. Like I'm always on the upbeat. I always want to make things sit weird and bouncy. Right? So that's me naturally when I just play rhythm guitar. But then, you know, when I met Mario, the singer, the main band that we geeked out on was Coheed and Cambria. And, you know, he was actually in a death metal band I think before us. Lots of screaming. He didn't sing in that band, all kinds of screaming. So I was like, dude, why don't we just take both worlds and just do both, you know, without making it sound whiny, like emo, and also not making it sound too epic, like power metal. I wanted the cross between almost the pop world, like getting that nice melody, harmony in there, and then have some fucking brutal screams. And Mario loves to fucking scream.
And also make it a space opera.
And a space opera.
We'll get into that in a minute. Like, I haven't quite got there yet. But yeah, James, how about you? How do you feel like this all interplayed together?
I love that you started with Muse because I happen to love Muse. I actually don't really know how everyone else in the band feels about Muse too. I love Muse. In my first band, my first very short-lived band, we did 2 shows. One of them was a Battle of the Cover Bands concert, and we covered Muse. Nice. And I did not have the voice for it, but I did it anyway.
Very cool.
Yeah, you really just ticked off a lot for me. The Coheed, you know, that really was what got Chris and Mario kind of gelling together. But after that, I started really getting into it, mostly because of this guy. And they're absolutely one of my favorite bands at this point as well. I basically listen to them on repeat on the car whenever I'm in there.
Cool. No, awesome. I'm glad to hear that. So I want to talk about my favorite song on Incarnate, and I kind of want to get your vibes from it. Now, it's probably not the favorite song of everybody else, but again, I feel like you guys, I like the weirder side of stuff, so I kind of like the things that interest me are what interests me. But I Am the Mist is my favorite song on the record. And the reason why I like that song the most is if I took that first record and just forgot about the second record, that is pretty much the song I would play to say, if you want to hear this band and what they actually sound like, this is what they actually sound like. Can you kind of talk about that track and how it came to be?
I'm going to let you go first, James.
That's our closer, actually, or was our closing track for the longest time. That's I really think that's one of our favorites as well. Just, you know, not even because we love the composition, which we do, but it's by far one of the most fun songs to play.
Yeah, and I also believe it was the last song we wrote.
Yes, it was.
During that period. So it was kind of like
a
all of us growing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Continue.
Yeah. Just trying to think of what to say next, but yeah, it really is the most fun song. The beginning starts in 5, so we kind of have a running joke where, but we have to make sure we're ready for the 5, so we shout out 5 or MacGyver.
Every show, screaming MacGyver. It's the only way I can remember to count to 5. But that song has the grooves. It has the catchy singing parts. It has, really intricate guitar lines that I really enjoy playing. It has everything that we've been working for.
Cool. No, awesome. It literally, that's the one when I started listening to that record, like over the last 2 weeks to get ready for this. It's a song I keep going back to, and I'm like, all right, this is the one. I can't fight it anymore. That's my favorite. But let's talk about Body Form now. So as I was talking, where I felt that Incarnate was more of kind of a really cool, well done demo, I feel like this is actually something you sat down, took the time, and said, okay, all the things we didn't like about the first record, we're going to throw away, and all the stuff that we know we can do now that we didn't want to, afraid try on the first record, we can do now. So I think it's a massive jump in production and arrangement. I love that the songs are a bit longer because it gives you some time to breathe with them, where I feel like on the first record, they're just, sometimes it's just verse, chorus, repeat. And you guys are so much better when you can do interesting little guitar noodlings and like these really cool proggy bass lines. And the cool thing about it is your drummer doesn't overplay. Like, he knows when to go fucking crazy. He knows when to hold back and let the song have the groove. Like, that's phenomenal.
That's so true.
So talk a little bit about that record and how it came about, and why 2 EPs instead of making a full length this time.
Well, I'll start with the new record, I guess.
Okay.
I laughed when you mentioned longer songs. So the first song from the new record that we finished or that we wrote was The Peril. And that one pretty much came about because I had been pushing everybody else to write a longer song, and every time I was just like, no, we gotta let it breathe. We can't end it here. We gotta do more.
And I'm the one sitting there going, no, 4 minutes. No one's gonna listen to this whole song.
But Chris, it's not even 3 minutes yet.
Cool.
Oh, but yeah. So this was a pandemic record, essentially.
It was a pandemic record.
You're right. We had a lot more time. We had, how long were we not playing shows for? Like a year and a half, 2?
Yep.
About.
Exactly.
And at that point, we started off a little rough trying to get into the swing of, lockdown, can't really get to practice. But eventually we were able to work out, and we really just buckled down 2-3 days a week, worked on songs, worked on new licks, worked on learning to play our new licks, which is always the hardest part.
Yep.
I think.
Because, you always, when I write, I want to push myself. So I might not be able to play what I initially write or what my ideas are taking me down this path. So I let it go. I play things slower. And then I'm like, nope, I want to get this up faster until it starts taking form and becoming its own kind of monster. But going back towards working with 5 members during the pandemic and trying to keep everybody positive and happy, we really, held everybody together. We really worked hard, made it all happen. It was our main outlet during all this pain and strife. So seeing us come together and writing all these songs was just amazing. And the creative process, using tools, recording, doing pre-pros, having Mario practice his vocal takes and send me takes all the time, just kept the creative force moving forward. And then the next step was to find, where do we record this at? How do we do this? And that's when I found Kevin from the Dillinger Escape Plan at Backroom Studios in New Jersey. And we booked a solid week where we went and lived in the studio. So that is also what you hear on the recording. All of us being free and taking our time to be creative, not being, it's time, we're done now.
Yeah.
Which was the first recording was like, oh, there you go. I gotta go get pizza and, feed the dog. And we're like, what? We're not done yet. So finding the studio, the producer, a different mind to listen to all of our songs. And also we were open-minded to his suggestions of where to go.
Yeah, you can hear it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was going to talk about the engineer and the recording side of it as well too, because you can hear that he opened your mind to things that were not on the first record in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
And I wouldn't say that they're Dillinger sounding. What I would say is they're experimental sounding, and that's always what Dillinger was. So.
Yes, exactly. Like, one of the key things that we used on this new record was the whammy pedal, and using the whammy pedal to create kind of like 70s sci-fi sounds in the background.
Cool. Yeah, so like the next thing I was going to talk about literally is this is my favorite track on the record, so I wanted you guys to talk about this one as well too. And it's Weeds is my favorite song. And the reason why Weeds is my favorite song, it's just simply a greedy moment. That intro is one of the fucking craziest things I've ever heard in my life. And I swear to God, there's like 400 guitars playing 500 different layers on it. So could you kind of talk about that song a little bit and tell me how that one came about?
Well, that one's the one that we really went crazy with the whammy stuff. I don't remember how many tracks I actually put into that.
There was like 4.
There was 4. Okay, yeah. So it was all quadrupled up. But you're right. Watching that one take shape into, because we hadn't been using that stuff, and we had the idea that the song sounds like this when we played it, and all of a sudden we've got Muse everywhere in it.
Yeah, that's a very aggressive song for me. Playing it live, I sweat really hard, and it's just and it makes me go crazy. Like, it's just one of those bopping songs. Like, I just move as soon as I hear it. Yeah. And that pickup in the beginning, like where the drums come in, like, and it just hits hard, and then it comes right into the vocals. It's just everything. And then my favorite part at the end is I do a tapping line. There's actually 3 different parts happening at the same time. James has this sweet rhythm.
That's my favorite riff on the album.
Yeah, his favorite riff. The bass player's doing something totally proggy. Like, he's just, it's just awesome. And then I'm just noodling.
What's crazy is the way that song managed to finally take its final shape while we were in the studio.
Yes.
That was probably the most stressful thing to record, because we had been working that was the last song that we finished, and we had been working on that one like way up until the point where we were in there, and
we got a funny story on that too when he's done.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Tell it. Yeah.
Yeah. You can finish up first.
Oh no, I was that was pretty much done. I just remember like finally figuring out the progression that I wanted to do. I kind of had the rhythm of that last riff figured out, but I didn't know how I wanted to progress it and make it into this outro. And where I had just arrived there, they had already been at the studio for the whole day, but I had work, so I got there late. And we just jammed it. We jammed it for a few hours, and by the end of the night, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this. And I think it speaks for itself. It came out really, really well.
Yeah. So like James was saying, this song was one of the last ones that we wrote, and it really took shape in the studio. So I have to give a shout out to Tyler from Cognitive, who wrote most of the bass lines on this record in a hotel room while Cognitive's touring. He's writing our bass lines.
Great fucking guy.
And then Zach Strauss, the saxophonist of Rivers of Nile, who graciously recorded bass on this whole EP. So we had a couple practices with Zach to get him ready to track all of his bass in the studio, which he was going to be like the last part recorded. He comes in and he's like, "You changed the song." And we're like,
different.
There's only this one little part, and we pull out the Guitar Pro. We're showing him all the parts, and he nailed it in like one take. And that bass line at the end, like, is just beautiful. So I have to thank both those guys for all their work that they did on it and putting up with our changing things last minute.
No, that's cool. So that's kind of the question I wanted to ask. You had a lot of people, either friends or acquaintances, help you out making this a very special record. Why was there not a bass player involved to begin with on this, and why were all your friends kind of helping out on this?
So we lost our bass player decided to quit the band during the pandemic. Just, the stress and everything and his job. He wasn't allowed to even be seen in public type kind of thing, like, or he could lose his job. So imagine having all that stress, being in a band, taking pictures of us,
Yeah.
writing songs and stuff. So he just said, it was time for him to move on. And we were just lucky enough to have this group of friends that have been following us since we started. And they all just pulled in together. We have an artist, we have a photographer, we have all these local bands that are heavy hitters in this area, just all, giving it all and helping us out. It was amazing.
No, you can definitely hear it. And the arrangements and the parts that they brought in flawlessly mixed with what you were doing. So that's fantastic that you had that.
Yep.
Next thing I kind of want to talk about is the album covers for both records. All right. And they're very similar, but yet different. And this is where my sci-fi geekery is going to come in and talk to you a bit. All right. Because it reminds me of kind of late 70s, early 80s sci-fi. Like that's the kind of vibe that you give me, mixed with like, I know this is going to get kind of weird, but like 80s sci-fi anime, like Battleship Yamato and Star Blazers. Like I feel like that's like what's coming through on this.
Yeah.
So why are the two album covers so similar, and what is the running theme on both? Because you can hear a theme, but it's kind of loosely based, and I would love to know from you guys what it really is.
Yeah, we've been keeping it very hush-hush, but I'm going to let James talk about this one. You want to do it, or do you want me to do it?
You should do it. I think this is all you, man.
Well, I would say that we're all fans of science fiction.
Okay.
One show that really kicked this all off for me was The Expanse. And reading The Expanse books, like, just got me into this whole mindset. And working with Mario and coming up with this story where I can't talk too much about it. But, we have the villain who's the monster on the first cover. I'm going to let you know a little bit about this. He's blue on the first album. Now on this EP that's out now, you see him and now he's a different color. So imagine him like a mini boss in a video game. You're beating him up and he's getting more aggro. So now the entity that we call the Mist, who's the monster or the end, he's getting pissed off, and the spaceman that's hanging out there is about to put him, to his end.
Cool. No, awesome. Thank you. No, thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about a couple other elements that I hear in the new record that I don't really hear so much in the first record. And I want to see if maybe I'm in the right direction again, and we're kind of melding here again too.
Cool.
I hear a lot of like 90s Teutonic thrash metal too. And I don't know if it's just the way things are arranged or the tone so much, but what I'm talking about is like Creator, like Sodom, like things along those, not the Bay Area thrash that people are so commonly understanding of, but like that German, really dirty, nasty thrash tone. Was that something you guys were throwing in this record? Because I hear those tones where I didn't hear it on the first record at all.
So we're 8-string players. So we're able to add some more dissonant sounds into our chords when we're playing them. During the pandemic, I had the great opportunity to take some lessons with some great guitar players. One being Chris Zen from Volvadinia, who showed me some really cool chords on the 8-string, which give you those sounds. Like I can't even describe them, but I just love them. It's kind of like you hear melody, but they're also clashing at the same time.
But they're not too clashy.
Not too clashy.
Because they could be too clashy, but they're not.
Exactly. Yeah, it's 8-string playing is very different from playing a normal 7-string. You have a lot more strings that you have to control and mute, and getting those sounds and using. I got very modal after taking lessons with Chris. Well, I have to say all the songs are modal, so no specific scale is being used, and then being chromatic.
Very cool. Awesome. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is your fan base and what I've been able to kind of read and see from 2019 to now. You have a very you have a very interesting group of people that either love you or hate you. Like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to explain. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's like there are diehard death metal people that think you just wanker way too much, which I think is hysterically funny.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I think is hysterically funny because that's what your fucking band is. And if somebody can't hear that, they're slightly retarded. Okay, I'm sorry. All right,
You said it.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it every goddamn day. It's not even a problem. Like you're being dumb because you got to hear what the band is.
And I feel like I caught somebody on a bad day. I'm like, oh man, he just woke up and had to listen to this, and he's just pissed. His whole day is gone. He can't listen to his favorite band anymore. He has to go home and like watch ABC News to get brought down or something.
And then the other side of it are people that don't think you go to the extreme enough. Like it is fucking ridiculous. Like, I mean, how much more do they want? Like, I mean, what are you gonna throw an accordion in next? Like what do they want? That's gonna be
saxophone? Do they want saxophone?
Well, yeah, but you don't want to be.
They like some violin.
Come on, you be yourself, and that's what you guys are. But my issue is where do you think in the spectrum your fans lie? Are the ones that really like it less metalheads, or are they really extreme metalheads where they're just super particular on this style of music?
That's a hard question because they're all over the place. We played a show Friday night up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, at an amazing bar called JB Love Drafts. Just great name too. And we got a random post of somebody that was just hanging out in the bar talking about our single Eden. They're like, oh my God, I never heard this band before. I just want to get up and dance. Somebody who's never heard us before, maybe they weren't a metalhead and they just rolled in and they just loved it. And then I feel like music nerds are some of our biggest fans. Like, they're the ones counting in the back of the room and coming up to me. He's like, oh, dude, stuff like that. And that's what really geeks me out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything to add on that, James?
I was just going to say, I feel like we get the open-minded people in our fan group. And, I mean, something that I hear quite frequently, I feel like at least one person at every show comes up to one of us in the group, usually Mario, because he's the front man. He's very, 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 very personal. We love you, Mario.
Love Mario.
But someone will come up to one of us and say, hey, I'm not really into this kind of music, but I really like what you guys are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so maybe we do have people who don't like us because we aren't heavy or,
slammy enough.
Yeah. But for every one of those, there's someone else who is really into that sort of thing.
Yeah. No, and that's funny because like you say we're not heavy enough. You have some riffs that are so fucking brutal that like how extreme death metal kids can't like it. Well, you know what? You're right. Maybe what you said is exactly what it is. It goes over their head because they can't digest the unusual with the usual. And that's kind of what goes on with that. But when you play live, how does the band differ from the records? What would you say is the most major difference between a live show and the actual albums?
Live show, way more energy. Mm-hmm. We go crazy, and I add. That's what's so hard about recording was all the sounds and string noises that I use at my disposal. Like, I love to throw in artificial harmonics everywhere. I want my guitar feeding back at certain points. I want pick scrapes. I want all those little finger noises in my sound, and that happens live. Both of us, me and James, when we play together, we create our sound, which is not like anybody else's. I haven't, like, when you play in other people's rigs and I can't get my sound because I'm not on my rig. Or when I'm practicing by myself, it doesn't sound right because James isn't playing with me. It's us together making this crazy sound, if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does completely.
Yeah, but live is just so much more. And our current bass player, he is now in the band. He's an official member, Chris Kaler. He's an amazing player, and he brought even more energy to our live shows. And the way he hits those strings, he's doing finger tapping, he's slapping and popping, and the energy is amazing.
The way he stomps the floor.
Oh, when he stomps the floor.
Nice. So I know neither one of you are the vocalists in the band, but I want to talk about the vocals for a minute because they're. I'm a musician myself. I'm signed to a couple record labels. I do everything from industrial stuff to doom metal. But
awesome.
yeah, so like I'm signed to a band, a label called Aesthetic Death in the UK for like a doomy noise band. So like I kind of want to talk about this because I love vocal range and vocal diversity. So have you ever gotten very odd feedback because your vocalist does so many different styles? Not that they're awesome, but like that, like he jumps in one song from like a jazzy kind of crooner moment to a power metal moment to a full-on, guttural napalm death moment. I don't even know how to explain it, because like there are some burps on this record, man, that just blow my fucking mind. Like when I go that low, blood comes out of my mouth, literally, and I'm like, okay, here we go.
It's
but
really
like,
funny that you say that, because
okay,
I think one of the stories that he told us about why he's no longer in his previous band is because they just wanted him to do one thing.
oh,
And you can't contain Mario.
No. He's over there like he's doing cattle decap one day, then he's doing Between the Buried and Me the other day, and then he's singing like some like musical or something
fucking
in the background.
Enya.
He's singing Enya in the background, and he's just all over the place, and that's what we love. We need that in our band. We need to have singing parts. We need to have brutal screams, and I want all the sounds in between as well. So moving on to the next, we plan on doing a full length next, and we're going to incorporate all of it.
Good. I don't want anything to change. I just want it to grow from here. Like that's really what I want. Like, yeah.
Have it all come together.
Yeah. Awesome. So the next thing I kind of want to talk about might be a tough topic for you guys, but it's something I'm really kind of interested in. With all the connections, all the friends you have, all the things you're doing, why are you self-releasing this stuff? Is it just because it's easy now? I get it. I did it myself too because I didn't want to deal with the label bullshit. But like, talk to me about why these are being self-released rather than, I mean, come on. This record is so goddamn good. Labels are going to come and talk to you.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you very much. That's really awesome and a hard question. To be honest, it was just easier this way. I didn't really know where to go, and also I'm not the one to ask for favors. Like I want to do it on my own, and it's out there. You saw it. It's this moment that's frozen in time that we captured. That's so beautiful that I want to share with everybody, and I didn't feel like I needed to wait. We already waited like a year for this to come out, and that was nonstop work for like 12 months. The PR stuff and all that.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine the next step. I have no idea what that would be like.
And it's not favors when you're a talented band, okay?
Oh.
I'm gonna say something to you that I needed to hear too. So when I signed to the record label that I currently signed to, I had been friends with the gentleman for probably 3 years beforehand, just because I loved the music that he put out. Like, he put out 2 of my favorite records. So he put out the original Esoteric records, which is like this amazing doom metal band that I absolutely love. And he put out this like power electronic noise band that I love. And I had been friends with him because of that, and I've been doing reviews and interviews. And I sent them my stuff, and I was like, I hope you dig it. Like, I'm not trying to force this on you or whatever. And he goes, you do realize that record labels only put out things that are special to them. So when somebody puts out something, it's not because you're their goddamn friend. It's because they have something personally invested, or it emotionally moves them. So always remember, guys, like, if you're emotionally moving people, it's not a favor because somebody on Metal Blade or somebody on Relapse, okay? It's because they personally want to do it. There's 8 million bands out there. They don't have to pick you. They want to pick you, okay? And when you do start shopping it around and record labels start talking to you, I can't wait to see the smile on your faces, how they talk about it versus what you think they're going to talk
Exactly. That's always the hardest part, man. But thank you so much for saying that.
Seriously, thank you.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Awesome. the next thing I kind of want to talk about a little bit is how you arrange these songs, because I kind of feel like these are not songs that like you all come in with parts and kind of like, okay, I got this part, you got this part. You guys sit down together as a group, as a crew, and like somebody's got an idea and it germinates from that, right? That's kind of the way you do this.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Here, I'll let you take this one because
how I am. So, whoever kind of brings it together, we do a lot of not guitar work while we're writing music. Our process consists of someone will present an idea, say Chris brings an idea to the table. First thing we do is we write it out. Before any of us starts playing it, we have to write it out so that we can analyze it in our tabbing software. We use Guitar Pro.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chris will play his riff and I'll sit on the computer and type it out. And, another day we'll come with another riff, or we'll discover a follow-up. We'll put a follow-up together, and then we'll put that into the Guitar Pro. And eventually we work down. Sometimes we'll have all of our sections figured out. Sometimes we just have a couple sections that strung together really nicely, and that's where we started. But you're right. It does usually start with an idea, and we cultivate it for as long as we possibly can.
And then I'm always like, let's make something weird.
Cool.
Yeah, and then you're just like, James, get this in the Guitar Pro. Just like, Chris, what the fuck did you do?
Yep, I get yelled at a lot because the screen turns completely red with all these errors, and I'm like, no, that's it, man.
No, it's
That's cool. No, awesome.
Yeah, sometimes you have to break the system,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally get it. But no, awesome. So I only have one more question for you, and then we'll wrap this up. Thank you so very much, guys, for doing this.
This has been awesome.
This was super fun, man. Thanks.
Yeah, that's what I said. I love to leave it free form because musicians love to talk about music, and people always think it's funny that they like to talk about themselves. The last goddamn thing we like to do is talk about ourselves. We love to talk about other bands and other friends, and I'm sure you're very much like me. You'll get a record and you'll give it to 9 people. You're like, you gotta listen to this. You gotta listen. That's the way. And then somebody like, didn't you just put your new record out? Yeah. Don't worry about that. We'll listen to that
don't
later.
worry about
that. I want you to listen to this.
We have a huge Discord chat that we just always new bands are thrown into the chat, and we're like, oh dude, check this out, and that's how we're also influencing each other.
Yeah, very cool. So hardest question I know you're gonna have, and I punish everybody with this, so here it comes. If somebody's about to listen to the band for the very first time, just 3 words, how do you describe the band? Just 3.
We math heavy.
Wow. All right. Chris, can you top that in any way, shape, or form?
No, I cannot top that. That is perfect. And we do.
Oh, we math heavy. Fantastic. James, I think you just named this whole interview. We math.
Yes.
Very cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over to you for the next couple of minutes. Tell us about what's coming forward, what shows you got, if you have anything new or interesting that you're doing. Kind of talk about it.
Oh, let's get this. We need our dates.
Dropping names without dropping dates.
I'm not good with dates.
All right.
Okay, so World Without Us is playing at, let's see here. We're playing August 5th at Bar 13 with Void Reaver and Humanity Decayed. It's going to be an amazing show. Also, Illusions of Solace. And then the big one, let's see here. This is the good one. We're playing a show with Enterprise Earth.
Oh, wow.
Yep, at Planet Trog in Allentown.
Super pumped.
And that is, let's see that date.
Should be right here. August 9th.
August 9th with Enterprise Earth. And those guys are dope. Within Destruction is also playing that show. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be a big stage show. I can't wait to get the sounds. And then in September, this is also really cool. September 20th with Monuments.
Oh, wow.
This is a show that we've been waiting for to kind of get in with bands that are similar to us. And I think this might be the one where, it might be the one. Like, I can't wait for Monuments. They're so awesome.
I was just gonna say it's like brothers from another mother. That's kind of
exactly.
the way it's kind of the way. That's the way those two bands are. You and them, absolutely. Yep. Very cool. So you were talking. I guess I'm gonna push a little bit. You were talking about a full length. Are you starting to work on it? Is it gonna be paused for a little bit? Like what's going on with it?
We're starting to work on it soon.
Okay.
The ideas are already flowing, and I don't even know how long. I don't want any restrictions on this one. I don't want to be like, the first 2 albums, 4 songs, we're getting our feet wet. We're just trying to feel what this is all about. Who are we? And now with the full length, we can truly be ourselves and let it shine. No restrictions on this next thing.
Cool. Well, James and Chris, thank you so very much for doing this. It's been an absolute pleasure. I have probably played your record for a dozen folks already and said, like, you got to listen to this,
dude,
because...
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, no, because you got to listen to this because, creative, interesting metal is few and far between these days. There's a lot of old school bands that, I love, that I listen to all the time. But when something new comes out, these are the kind of interviews that I want to do. Like, I want to talk to you guys and bands like this that, you know what, if you don't get the exposure out there, I'm going to lose bands like you, and I don't want that to happen. So,
Yeah, same.
Cool.
That's
well,
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. And like I said,
Thanks for
Clint
having us, man.
Yeah, Clint from the Doorway too, hanging out with James and Chris from The World Without Us. And man, thank you so much, y'all. Good luck on your shows, and I can't wait to hear feedback about the Monument show, because I think that's going to be phenomenal.
Oh, it's going to be so epic.
Cool, nice. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you guys.